Fáilte sin taimhór is an tían a chéalaí cálaí na nach, he chomabí nar cúideach. I'm seeing a few panicked faces. This is not going to all be in Gaelic, although we do have some other islanders in our midst tonight as well, so there are a few Gaelic speakers in the house. Thank you very much for having us. It's so nice to be here. We can't actually believe that we're touring America for the second time. Coinneach MacLeod. Fáilte. How did this all come about? You're standing here as Scotland's best-selling cook author 2 years in a row? How did you manage to pull this off?
Well, firstly, Fáilte, everybody. It's so nice to be. What an amazing crowd. Thank you so much. I know it's a chilly night tonight as well, so I'm sure you could have cuddled up in the sofa when you come out and say, it's just not cold. Oh, is it? That's true. Well, unbelievably, we've also got snow on the island back at home just now, so we felt very much at home. But first, as I said, thank you so much for joining us tonight for this wee Céilí. And some of you know what a Céilí is, but for those of you who don't, it's the Gaelic for a gathering or a kind of joining of friends together, and that's what we hope tonight is going to be. We're going to tell some stories, maybe sing some songs. Uh-oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that in advance. We want them to stay. Lock the doors. Lock the doors. And just have a really, hopefully, really enjoyable night. But well, you were asking about how this all started, and who's got my first cookbook? Who's got a quiz then? See, go to shout. It's in the first chapter. My Aunt Bellac. Check what page it is. I want everybody's got book one to see it. I feel like a minister. Turn to page 27 of your Hebridean Baker cookbook. Which, yes. Can you see it? Beautiful lady.
Oh, here it is, right here.
You got it?
What page number is it?
Oh,
22.
Yeah.
Yes. So, this is my Aunt Bellac. She's 94. And I was over at her house one day, and it just happened to be her 65th wedding anniversary that day, and she was making a duff. Now, apart from the two Leosocks here, a duff is who you know very well, I'm sure, a duff. It's on the mainland they call it a clootie dumpling. And it's, I would say, probably our most famous island dish. If you're Well, who's single in the room? Yeah. It wasn't an offer, but now that you've asked, who's single and would like to marry somebody from the Outer Hebrides? You said you were married a second ago. Well, I think we can say the way to an islander's heart, if you can make a duff, if you can make a clootie dumpling, book yourself a one-way flight. If you're not fussy, give yourself 2 weeks. If you're fussy, maybe 3. If you want, a husband or wife with their own teeth and hair, those kind of things. If you're fussy, then maybe 3 weeks. But if you can make the duff, then you're okay. And the duff is a bit of a journey. Day one, you would have the duff you would slice it, just have it like a cake. Day two, you would more have it as a pudding. You'd have it with custard or cream on the top. But it's day 3 that everybody looks forward to. What do you do with it on day 3? Oh, the Leosocks don't know. You fry it. Of course, you fry it. You fry it with black pudding from Storing Away and bacon and eggs as a Hebridean breakfast. So I'm salivating even thinking about a fried piece of clootie dumpling. But she was making that, and she was telling me that's what she had made as her own wedding cake 65 years ago to the day. And we were just she was telling me stories about wedding traditions on the island, and I thought to myself, I want to make sure that people on the island don't forget these stories. Never in a million years thinking that anybody in Minnesota or anyone else would find this interesting. And I think now 26.5 million people have watched my videos online. And as Peter said, my 2 cookbooks are now been the best-selling cookbooks in Scotland for the past 2 years. So what an amazing experience. So thank you to all of you who have liked the video, watched the video, given me a hug, whatever, and it really has been the most amazing couple of years. So thank you very much to everybody.
Peter, how's this done?
Oh, his stuff's
That's you can get arrested for asking that in a couple of parts of Scotland, but my duff's not too bad. Yeah.
I mean, the duff recipe, Bella puts a secret ingredient in.
She does, yes. And actually, it was
It's
quite
not so
difficult.
secret because it is in the book. But, yeah.
She puts a tablespoon of marmalade in her clouty dumpling recipe, which I think does add a wee bit of extra to it. So, as I said, even if you don't plan to look for a Hebridean husband or wife, it's still the recipe I'd love you to get from book one for sure. So,
So, Leosach means somebody from the Isle of Lewis. And there's actually a few people with connections to Lewis in the room
It is,
tonight.
yes.
Tell us a wee bit about growing up in Cremore, in Stephen and Hag, South Lochs.
Yeah. So, well, firstly, I'm sure we'll talk about Gaelic and their language and things, but Cremore, has anybody got a wee bit of Gaelic at all? There's a few with a bit of Gaelic. That might come in handy for the quiz later. I do want to say thanks so much to the people who are Gaelics and of course Majors and Quinn for inviting us. The only sad thing is they don't have a liquor license. So all these beautiful bottles of Jura whiskey and Isle of Hattis gin, which were supposed to be the welcome drinks, we're not allowed to serve them. But we'll figure out, I think what we should all do is just all go outside at the end of that. There used to be a thing in Lewis called Dansarad, which was like the road dance. And I think if people can close off this end of the road and that end of the road, we can get a strip the willow going, a Scottish dance going, a few drams. So we'll figure out what to do with the drinks in a wee while. But my village of Cremore, Crow is an Old Norse word. It kind of means, well, it's cattle or a cow in Noun Gaelic, and More is the Gaelic for big. So I'm from Big Cow. The next village is Crowbig, which is Wee Cow. And I do remember growing up, I was quite proud the Vikings thought we had bigger cows than the next village. So that's what it was like growing up on the islands. But my father was a fisherman. He had a trawler fishing boat that we used to go out in the North Atlantic. And my mother was a Hattis Tweed weaver. And that's what my brothers ended up doing. So one brother was a fisherman, one was a crofter, and one was a weaver. So I am the black sheep because I don't have sheep, basically, because they all do. But it really was a lovely upbringing, and I got my height from my mother. She was 5'11". I got my storytelling from my father. He was 5'6" and liked a dram. So luckily, as I said, I got my storytelling from him and not the height. But actually, there's one story in the first book. Again, I don't know if you've read it or not, but can I tell you that story? It's got a fun story with my father. Okay, thank you. As I said, my father was a fisherman, and so he used to go out in his big boat from a Monday to a Friday. But on a Saturday, he'd just go out in the village he's got here lobster creels and that kind of thing just outside the village. And so one Saturday he was out doing his usual gallivanting, and on his way home, he was rowing the boat home, and suddenly, crash. He turns round and he realizes he's crashed into another boat. Not only has he crashed into another boat, he's crashed into the Royal Yacht Britannia. And who's leaning over the side of the boat but the Queen and Princess Margaret? Okay? So, now remember, this is my father's story. So according to him, the Queen's the leaning over the boat, and Princess Margaret's there. You know that, what's the thing with the big fancy cigarette, that kind of, the way they put the cigarette in it, that kind of thing. So she's there like this. The Queen kind of leans down and goes, "Where have you been?" To my father. "Oh, I've been out of the creels." "Where have you been?" he says to the Queen. She goes, "Oh, well, we're on our holidays," she said. "We're on our way to Balmoral for our holidays." "Oh, Gleva," he says. "Have you got anything in for dinner?" Now, according to my father, the Queen said no. Now, I'd be very surprised if the Queen left Buckingham Palace with nothing in for dinner. But she said no. And so my father says, well, do you like lobsters? Do you like, shellfish? Oh, yes, we absolutely love it. Now, my father said he did know this in advance, that Princess Margaret is very good at catching a rope. So he threw the rope up to Princess Margaret. She heeked the creel up onto the deck and got all the lobsters and everything onto the deck. And then the Queen went, I'm the Queen. I don't carry any money. How am I going to pay for this? And my father says, don't worry, it's a gift from the village. We hope you enjoy it. So anyway, my father waved them goodbye, rode home. Now, our house is, well, we're kind of number 11. And this is my neighbour here, Kathleen, and Alan, who are locals, but also we share a kindred spirit of being islanders as well. So you can say hello to them, and they'll, I'm sure, inspire you to come and visit. They have a little cottage if you want to come and visit my village. But they'll know exactly where my house is. And there's a few houses between the pier and my home. So what did my father do? Went to the first house, got a dram, told the story. Went to the next house, told the story, got 2 drams. And this went on till he got back home. And when I went to chat to people in the village about this story, everybody had their own version. It got bigger and bigger before we got back to number 11. Sometimes Prince Philip came out and was sitting on the boat with them. When he got to number 5, Cremor, he told them that Princess Diana and he were dancing on the deck of the Royal Britannia. So the stories did get quite extravagant as the drams kept going. But anyway, he told us the story when he got home, and well, to be fair, we just didn't believe him, to be totally blunt. And so it wasn't 2 weeks later when across the loch so my father was Donald John MacLeod, but in Cremor at the time there was another 7 Donald John MacLeods. We're not very original with our men's names on the island. So I could see him like literally running round, and he got to the house and he had a lighter. And he said to my father, I think this is for you. And there was a stamp from Balmoral on the envelope. So we all kind of cuddled round, and he opened the letter and kind of roughly went something like this. It was, Dear Mr. MacLeod, would you apologise to the village if we caused any trouble when we broke down a couple of weeks ago? We feasted on your lobsters and shellfish that night, and it's the best meal we had on the way to Balmoral. See you next year, Lizzie or Queenie. I can't remember how she signs her letters. But we all stood around going, he's actually told the truth. He actually did. I don't know if he danced with Princess Diana, but he actually did tell the truth, which we were all pretty shocked about, to be fair. And I think now, definitely, I might be one of the only people in the world that can honestly say that my father gave the Queen crabs. And she said thank you. So knowing that's the stories my father told, well, that's probably why I happily tell stories now. So.
I wonder if King Charles will make it to Cremor.
Oh, good point, actually. Hi. I try not to give him crabs, but.
So you have been telling us about growing up in Lewis, and that's the heart of the Gaelic community. Gaelic was the language of your house, and it's still the language of our house overseas. Tell us a wee bit about what the Gaelic language means to you and how important it is to you.
Well, as I say, I was kind of brought up speaking Gaelic, and in the 70s it was not an easy time as Gaelic speakers. We were discouraged to speak the language mostly, and at school we were made to speak English, even in the playgrounds and things. But luckily for all of us who speak Gaelic, there's been a real regeneration in the language over the past few years. I think now every town, at least every city in Scotland, has a Gaelic school where you can send your children from 5 years old up to 18 years old, which is just fantastic. And now on the island of Lewis, you have to opt out of Gaelic education. The parents have to say, no, we want the children to go to English rather than Gaelic. So that's a big thing. We also have our own TV channel, which is called BBC Alba. And for those of you who haven't seen it, this wonderful man here has his own TV show called Gara Fadrig, which I very much encourage. See if you get one of those dodgy, those VPN things that make you... I know I shouldn't be encouraging this, but it's worth it. So you're just filming the 3rd series at the moment of that. So BBC Alba is a great platform for the language of Gaelic, and we're very proud that it exists. But with most islanders, speaking Gaelic comes along with singing in Gaelic as well. And there is something called the Royal National Mott, which is sort of, have you heard of the Eurovision Song Contest? It's kind of like Eurovision, but less fireworks, more kilts, kind of thing. But we were in Perth last year for the Mod, and there's about 2,000 singers in all different competitions, from solo to folk group to choirs to dancing and it's a really special week indeed. And actually, we're back next month. Peter is hosting, along with Joy Dunlop, the first ever New York Mod, which is going to be part of New York Tartan Week. If there are any budding singers in the room,
how amazing would it be if the first winner came from Minnesota?
Wouldn't that be amazing? If you go onto New York Tartan Week as website, and it's got a special page about the Mod, and it's got all the education tools. We've got 6 really well-known Gaelic singers to sing 6 songs that you can learn phonetically if you don't speak Gaelic. I know most of you speak Gaelic, but for the 2 or 3 of you who don't speak Gaelic, you can learn it phonetically, and the song sheets and everything are there. And it's going to be an absolutely fantastic event. So if you do love everything Scottish and can make it to New York Tartan Week, there's a whole day of Gaelic workshops, how to learn the language, how to sing in Gaelic, how to do Cayley dancing. Then the second day is our Mod competition. But the Mod, as I said, it's an annual event, and hold on. So, well, I suppose that's how we met, wasn't it? The Mod. Is there any Hollywood directors in the room? Anybody need oh, really? If anybody needs a Hebridean rom-com for this winter's season. So I was entering what's called the Silver Pendant competition, which is one of the solo competitions at the Mod. And BBC Alba phoned to say, oh, we're doing a documentary following 4 of the singers who are going to enter the competition. Would you be one of the people? And I was like, oh, that sounds great fun. Oh, glad, I said. So there'll be somebody at the airport to meet you, and they'll follow you for the week and watch you rehearse and watch you in the competition. And who was the cameraman?
And to think I nearly got sent to Harris to film the ladies' choir.
And the thing is, it wasn't one of those like perfect ends. I didn't actually win the competition. I came second, but I went back and won the next year. And then the year after, I persuaded Peter to enter as a, look at him looking at me, persuaded people to...
Persuaded is not the right word, I think. He entered us without telling me. And he said, we have to learn the song.
Enter's meant to.
And your name appears in a published programme, so we had to do it. But below me over, we won.
Well, much to our shock, and I also think most people in the audience shock, we actually won that year. And then, so we entered again. It was the year after we entered again, and we came second. Then last year we came fourth, but actually we're getting worse. Most people when they enter and do things, they get better. But we seem to be on like a downward trajectory for our singing. But we've sang lots of different types of songs. The one we won with was a song called Tal on the Bendigurima, which is a Cape Breton, a Canadian Gaelic song, which is a really lovely song. And then we sang a song called Booksellers, which was about a very famous pub in Glasgow that the Gaels used to all congregate in. And then last year we sang, and this was unbelievable, it was the first time, the Mod's been going for about 150 years, and it was the first time in 150 years that this Robert Burns song had been sung at the Mod. And you all know it, maybe not by its Gaelic name, which is Erscan and MacLeod, but in English, in Scots, it's All Lang Syne. And so it was the first time that song had ever been sung, but sadly we came fourth. As I said, we're getting worse, we're getting worse. But do you fancy a wee song? See, usually by this point, you've all had a couple of drams. Well, I was going to say you're all stone cold sober, but I'm realizing not all of you are, so that's so that's fine. Usually we don't have microphones, so we'll pass these. Well, we can maybe do it like roughly here. I don't know. This one, there's a style of music in Gaelic called Pushtabial, and that translates as mouth music. So it was really created. There's a few stories why it was created, but. There was a time on the islands where people still used to enjoy themselves and celebrate, but maybe they didn't have the money to have instruments. And so they created this style of music that would allow people to still ceilidh dance without instruments. So you would sing a strathspey or a reel, etc. So we'll do a three-part, if you remember the words. The first one is Coinneach MacLeod, and the author wrote all three, or the poet, whatever, wrote all three. He loved Coinneach. Janet. Okay. Janet. He loved Janet. He thought Janet was the absolute bee's knees. He wasn't married to Janet. He was married to the next lady, who was Benandrochnader, and that is the
What a bad-tempered wife.
The bad-tempered wife, exactly. So he loved Janet. He was married to the bad-tempered wife, and then the last story was about Nian the Caliche Crothichi Krubig, which is the daughter of the hunchbacked lady, kind of thing. So there's quite a gang in whatever village he was from that he had his eye on or didn't have his eye on. So. Right then, let's get ready for this. Usually there's a drum behind this. Very disappointed there's water, but
Pushtabial has a beat to it, and they're tongue twisters, so wish us luck. Remember, fourth, we came fourth.
I love the caveats. There. Okay. Oh, Coinneach, yeah, okay. Coinneach MacLeod, Godoyoch Chroniaki.
Coinneach MacLeod, Sakula Fair and Torora.
Coinneach MacLeod, Godoyoch Chroniaki.
Coinneach MacLeod, Sakula Fair and Torora.
Sannareir Chunami, Cholami, Sachunami. Sannareir Chunami, the Kunavan
Coinneach.
Sannareir Chunami, Cholami, Sachunami. Grannareir Chunami, the Kunavan Coinneach MacLeod, Godoyoch Chroniaki.
Coinneach MacLeod, Sakula Fair and Torora.
Coinneach MacLeod, Godoyoch Chroniaki.
Coinneach MacLeod, Sakula Fair and Torora.
Sannareir Chunami, Cholami, Sachunami. Sannareir Chunami, the Kunavan Coinneach. Sannareir Chunami, Cholami, Sachunami. Grannareir Chunami, the Kunavan Coinneach. Benandrochnader, Specker Hini, Benandrochnader, Njoni.
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 Biri kriegen, biri kraven, Benandrochnader, Njoni. Biri kriegen, biri kraven, Benandrochnader, Njoni. Biri kriegen, biri kraven, Benandrochnader, Njoni. Benandrochnader, Specker Hini, Benandrochnader, Njoni. Nian the Caliche Crothichi Krubig, Hyundigi Cool, Srochikirum.
Vrippigi Kassen, Mashecher and Nula, Hyndigi Cools, Rogigirum.
Nian the Caliche Crothichi Krubig, Hyundigi Cool, Srochikirum. Vrippigi Kassen, Mashecher and Nula, Hyundigi Cool, Srochikirum. Hyundigi Cool,
Hyndigi Cool,
Hyundigi Cool, Srochikirum. Hyundigi Cool,
Hyndigi Cool,
Hyundigi Cool, Srochikirum. Hyundigi Cool, Vrippig Tula, Hyundigi Cool, Srochikirum. Nian the Caliche Crothichi Krubig, Hyundigi Cool, Srochikirum. we sing so much nicer after 2 drams. But hopefully you enjoyed that. But as I said, if you are interested in even just learning or finding out more about the language of Gaelic, so there's only about 60,000 of us that speak the language, but Duolingo, the app, that has Gaelic on it, and you can learn that for free. There is an amazing YouTube series called Speak Gaelic with our friend Joy Dunlop and Colin, and there is going to be 80 episodes of that, half-hour episodes where you can go through the whole journey.
They're just starting filming season 3.
Amazing.
So if you started now, you're not too far behind the beginning of it all, so you can catch up on the lessons.
So there's lots of ways to learn Gaelic, but as I said, singing is a great way to do it. So I'm expecting at least 3 of you to be at the Mod in New York in a couple of weeks' time. So I'll be discussing that with you later.
So, Coinneach, this is a cookbook.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
we were at an event in Washington, D.C.
I'm going to tell the story, right? So basically, we were at this really lovely, we love the indie bookshops, hardcore indie bookshop support, yes. And we were at a bookshop called Solid State Books in Washington, great bookshop. And there were one of the ladies who worked there, you could tell she was like, oh no, another book signing, I'm here till 10 o'clock tonight, like that. And so, but she came up to us afterwards, and that's exactly what she said. She said, we do book signings all the time, and when I saw here was another one, I was thinking, well, that's me, another night in the shop. And when I was trying to explain to somebody, I was like, she reminded me of somebody. I said, she looked like Whitney Houston's auntie. And I was like, Whitney Houston's auntie. And he goes, is that Celine Dion?
I accepted it straight away. You're a rotten Roger, tell me.
No, who is it? Dion. So he was kind of, sort of right. He had it sort of right. I sort of do wish that Celine Dion was Whitney Houston's auntie. But no, Dion, she had the look of Dionne Warwick about her. And she said that, she said she hadn't been looking forward to another night of work, but she really enjoyed it, and she was kind of entranced by that people were enjoying it so much. But she did say, you are a cookbook author, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, you didn't actually mention any recipes. Maybe I should mention some recipes, but yes. So it is. So if you don't know, it is a cookbook, just in case if you didn't know that.
So, any favourite recipes that you would like to tell us about? Tell us a wee bit about the food of Scotland and how you come up with the recipes. And any favourites?
Yeah. Well, a few things. Well, firstly, I love old cookbooks. I don't know why I was looking at Dan there when I said old, but I just want to say a thank you to Dan. Give everybody a quick wave, just for a quick moment. Dan is a great friend, and if you do get to the thank you page, I do thank Dan and his partner Jeff in the book. And the reason why, I don't know if it was well planned or not, but I was actually shooting book 2 when they came to visit me on the island. And they became my wardrobe department. So I was trekking up big mountains and hills on the Isle of Lewis, and then these two were trudging behind me with 6 kilts, 12 spottons, and all these kind of things. So it's a big thank you to Dan that the book is so lovely. So thank you, Dan and Jeff, for that. But what I do love is recipes that have a story behind them. I kind of picture you kind of maybe in your kitchens or when somebody comes to visit, that you don't only bake the recipe, but you tell the story behind it. So like my first book I love, The Bride's Bond. And when you're a Scottish cookbook author, you do need to have the best shortbread recipe. You can imagine that there's a lot of pressure to have a good shortbread recipe in your book. And so I did look north, south, east and west, and I chose a Shetland recipe, which is called a Bride's Bond. And it's a classic petticoat tail shortbread. But what's quite distinctive about it is it has caraway seeds as the flavour. So you can tell that it's got a lot of influence from Norway, because that's a very common Nordic ingredient. But what I love about it is it's made by the bride's mother on the day of the wedding. I don't know if we have any budding brides in the room. I know some of you are going to the Hebrideans to get married soon, but watch out, because on the day of the wedding, the mother of the bride bakes the bride's bond. But when the daughter comes back from the wedding, she doesn't give her a big hug. She smashes the shortbread over her daughter's head. And it's very good luck if the guests catch a piece of the shortbread before it hits the floor. And then you put it under your pillow at night, and it's supposed to give you sweet dreams or dream of your future husband or wife. And even if it doesn't, if you wake up at 3 in the morning, you've got a cracking piece of shortbread to nibble on as well. So that's an absolute winner as well. So, and then you have a Scots flummery. I got that recipe. There's a great old cookbook called The Scots Kitchen. I don't know if anybody has that. It's from 1929. F. Marion MacLeod wrote it. It's an absolutely fantastic book if you ever find it in a second-hand bookshop or so. And a Scots flummery, seemingly Flora MacDonald was halfway through a Scots flummery when she was arrested for helping Bonnie Prince Charlie escape from Culloden. And I'm just imagining her going, no, I just one more bite, you know. And just, so again, I kind of hope when you're making the recipes, some of them make you smile.
What is a Scots flummery?
Oh, don't ask me questions like that. That was what is a Scots flummery? Somebody know. It's not nearly like a syllabub in a way. It's kind of whipped cream with whiskey and marmalade and all good Scottish things. And the thing with hopefully all my recipes is, I hope they're very accessible. I call myself a passionate home baker. I'm not planning to make you a Michelin star chef. These are recipes, like if your auntie comes to visit, these are the recipes I would want you to bake when your auntie comes around to visit. That's kind of my image for the book, you know? And the ingredients that you should be able to find, and even with the cocktails, can I just tell you one cocktail recipe that's going to be your... It does get warmer than this, doesn't it, Tia? Yes. Well, okay, I'm going to tell you so if you've got book 2, well, it's in my afternoon tea chapter. I know in England, afternoon tea, you have to have tea. We have alcohol within afternoon tea. So in the afternoon tea section, there's mine called the lemon curd cocktail, and it's with this is Isle of Hattis gin, okay? And so we haven't had a distillery. I can't say we haven't been making whiskey in the island, but we haven't officially been making whiskey on the islands and Lewis and Hattis for 150 years. But the Isle of Hattis distillery is a beautiful distillery. If you do come to visit, I hope many of you do come to visit. If you do, make sure you take a trip down to Tarbert to see this distillery. Even just for the bottle, it's so beautiful. These are going to be some prizes later that you can win, by the way. So I hope you are ready for some Gaelic quizzes and etc. But the lemon curd cocktail, I honestly is a winner. It's really simple. I like cocktail recipes that just have, you know when you see cocktail recipes, they've got gin, then creme de this, so all those things you're never going to have in the cupboard, okay? So I call these my store cupboard cocktails. So it's gin, Hattis gin if you can get it. I think you call it simple syrup, don't you? Or sugar, and you all know how to make sugar syrup. Don't buy it. It's so easy to make. So double the caster sugar to water, just let that dissolve, keep it in the fridge for 6 months, a year. That's enough cocktails to keep you going. So a little bit of sugar syrup, fresh lemon juice, and a big dollop of lemon curd. Okay, oh my goodness. Do you know when those things tingle? You know, here, I don't know what they're called, but they're actually, even talking about it, my things are tingling, especially. Actually, can I just, sorry for telling all the stories. The reason why we decided not to sit here, when we did the book tour the first time, we started in New York, and we was on 5th Avenue and the Barnes & Noble, and they did this to us. And we were less experienced book event people at that point. All I can say from a race stage and a man in a kilt, I did get a standing ovation from the ladies in the front row halfway through our talk. So that's why we thought we'd better not.
Those midtown ladies got a flash of some Hebridean buns.
Yes, exactly. So I thought I don't want to scare any children in the room. So, there's, as I said, a lot of wholesome recipes, hearty recipes, lots of recipes for a Minnesotan winter. Okay, that's what this book about. And there's one thing I was going to say. Scottish folk are great at making soup. Soup is one of our favourite things to make. Hearty, warm. But I kind of like making a twist on the soup. So, for example, I've got a Cullen skink tart. Cullen skink's in my first book, but I make a tart out of the flavours in book 2. But I remember walking through to the photography room for the second book. Has anybody heard of a cock-a-leekie soup? Yeah, hi, quite a traditional soup. Does anybody know what the 3 main ingredients of a cock-a-leekie soup? Cock is, thank you. Leekie is leek. What's the third one?
Fruits?
Prunes, exactly. Now, here's the thing. It's a clear soup, and when I came out, the photographer Susie, who's amazing, I know Dan loved her as well, she goes, cock-a-leekie soup. And I was like, what do you mean, cock-a-leekie soup? She was like, it's so difficult to photograph. And I was like, why? And I was kind of like walking out with my beautiful bowl of it. And it's a clear soup, and then there's this big brown prune floating about in it, like a kind of lavatory pan. And she says, no, no, it's not happening. After about an hour of trying to shoot it, so I kind of trudged back to the kitchen. And then that night, obviously, I was making dinner for Peter and everybody, and I had lots of chicken, I had lots of leeks, I had lots of prunes, so I thought, you know what if I slow cooked it into like a pie film? And made it into a pie dish. So that's where cock-a-leekie pie came in. And
it's a winner.
It's amazing.
If you make that recipe.
Make the recipe. The only thing I will say, and I promise you the recipes are correct, apart from this one. If you can all scribble on that page, don't forget the carrots. Because you can see in the photo there's carrots, I just forgot to put it in the recipe. So, but I was down, there's a TV show called This Morning in the UK. It's kind of, I don't know what it's like.
Good Morning America.
Is it? Like it's from 10 o'clock till 1 every day, and there's celebrities and shit. You know, that kind of one of those kind of shows. Maybe The View or something like that. And I was live on the show a few weeks ago, and they asked me to make the cock-a-leekie pie. And, let's just put it this way. I am now a meme because trying to explain the cock-a-leekie pie went a little bit not the way I planned it to go. So basically, if you look at the photo in the book, which again is in chapter 1, I've made a little pastry cockerel on the top. That's what I was trying to say live on television. That's not exactly what I said. So technically what I said was that I was trying to explain that you can get cookie cutters, but you can also get cocky cutters. Or I had a cocky cutter, and as the presenter kind of splurted his lemon curd cocktail out at me, you know when you're already down a path and you keep going further and further down. Anyway, so yes, so mental note, next time on TV, fewer double entendres and innuendos, but it really is a special pie. But I do have a very special pie made from a great friend of mine, Lisa, here as well. And I'm going to say a big thank you to Lisa, and I'm hoping a few of us can share this pie. Apple pie, is that right, Lisa?
Wisconsin apple pie.
Wisconsin.
Cheese curds.
With cheese curds. And maple syrup.
And
And cranberries.
Does anyone have a spoon?
Exactly. And on that, Lisa has actually written me a wee prayer. Actually, it's called "God is my oatmeal." You might recognise the beat of this prayer. Give us this day our daily gruel, as we give thanks to those who have breakfasted before us. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive ours on the days we skipped oatmeal. Amen. So I think she does have a few more of these if you would like, if you would like that.
I don't think you've ever skipped oatmeal ever
No.
before. He actually came travelling with a bag of broccoli and a bag of
I
porridge.
brought my own Scottish porridge with me on this trip. So lots of recipes, and if you do try them, and if you're on social media, tag me and tell me how you enjoyed making them as well. I do love seeing them on social media. So, shall we test these folk on their Scottish knowledge?
I think we've got a few bottles to give away.
We've got a few bottles. Oh yeah!
Actually, money can't buy in America prizes.
So has anybody seen these on my social media? Okay, so there's a lovely bakery on the island called Stag Bakeries on the Isle of Lewis, and so most of the things that have happened over the past couple of years have just been me kind of going, I don't know if you know who I am, but would you like to do something together? And so I went to the Stag Bakery and said, kind of quite nervously, because when you're from the island, Stag Bakeries are like, superheroes to the island. And I was like, well, I could maybe promote your biscuits, or I could do this, or I could do that. Or I knew they had just opened a kitchen, what do you call them, like a test kitchen. I said, maybe I could do baking demos here. But I says, wouldn't it be fun if there was my own range of shortbread? And then I got a wee bit embarrassed about it and changed the subject. And then the lady, the manager, Catherine, I says, anyway, I'll let you think about things and we'll catch up again. And she goes, no, I've thought about it. Let's do it all. And I was like, all as in all? She was like, let's do everything. And so a year later, these oaties and shortbread arrived. So there's whiskey shortbread, marmalade shortbread, and honey shortbread. And then, there's been the marmalade ones. Okay, somebody's going to be very happy tonight. And then with the oaties, lemon and ginger, mixed Scottish berries, and chocolate. And they're blooming amazing. So, unfortunately at the moment, and again, I do drop hints just in case there's any importers or, shop owners here who would like to order them, but they're only available in the UK at the moment. So you literally will be the only people in America, apart from, again, these two who have probably taken over 50,000 boxes over the past few months over. And you have too. Amazing, Kathleen. So they can be the prizes too, but shall we do it? Okay, so I know, who was the guy in Jeopardy again? Alex Trebek, okay. I know Alex Trebek, so this is going to be very self-policed, okay? So I just have to trust you, because can I just tell a story? We were in Boston, and the British ambassador came. Okay, that's pretty cool, right? And brought his family. And his daughter was a wee bit, what's the word?
Brackle.
Annoying. No, sorry, no. You're just kind of like, she got all the questions wrong, but stomped her feet and said she won the prize at the end. She goes, I got all the questions right. I won the bottle of whiskey.
So we gave her a bottle of whiskey. Well, her mom.
Yes, So I just have to trust you that if you don't get the answer right, take a seat and, all that kind of stuff. But I need you all to stand up for the quiz, okay? If you can. If you can. I'm going to come up here. Oh, that's good. Right then. Okay, so I'm going to give you a question and two answers. Okay? If you think the first answer is correct, put your hand up. If you think the second answer is correct, keep your hands down. Okay, does that sound clear? Clear as mud. Okay, let's start with a relatively easy one then. So I don't know if many of you know, but we have our own parliament in Scotland, and the Scottish National Party are our main party. But very sadly, our First Minister has resigned, okay? And we're currently looking for a new First Minister. But what is the name of our current First Minister? Okay, so put your hands up if you think her name is Margaret Thatcher. And keep your hands down if you think it's Nicola Sturgeon. If any of you get this wrong. Okay, yes, well done. Okay, we're on it now. I can see him at the back going like a stretching, ready for the quiz. Okay, we're ready now, we're ready. Okay, so I'm going to start with an island question, okay? and it's about the Outer Hebrides. How many inhabited islands are there in the Outer Hebrides? Okay? And inhabited means there's more than 10 people living on the island. Okay? So, if you think there are 15, put your hands up. If you think there are 18, keep your hands down. So hands up for 15 and hands down for 18. You look so nervous.
That is a tough question.
So hands up for 15 and hands down for 18. Okay. Final answer? Final answer. There's 15. So, good start. Oh, I've got a few of you out already. Dan, come on, you've been to a couple of them already. So 15 inhabited islands. Okay. Don't worry, when we were in Dallas last year, everybody got the first one wrong. So at least a few of you are already up. So, next question. Okay, what is the national animal of Scotland? Oh, I think somebody said the answer. But anyway, let's pretend we didn't hear the answer. So, if you think the answer is a stag, put your hands up. And if you think the answer is a unicorn, keep your hands down. So hands up for stag, and hands down for unicorn. Oh, you laughed. The national animal of Scotland is the unicorn. Ye of little faith.
Yes, they are real.
Believe. Believe.
I thought you were worried because I'm just cold.
Okay. Okay, that's right. So I said to you, I really hope all of you come and visit. Okay? So, and when you come to visit the islands, most of you will come by ferry. Okay? So you probably come into Edinburgh or Glasgow, drive up the A9, stop in Inverness, go to Loch Ness, and then carry on up the road. And you'll arrive into the ferry port of Stornoway. But where on the mainland would you get the ferry from to get to Stornoway? Okay? So, if you think you would get the ferry from Uig, put your hands up. If you think you get the ferry from Ullapool, keep your hands down. So Uig, hands up, and Ullapool, hands down. What did I say? Uig, hands up. Uig, hands up. Ullapool, hands down. Okay. It's a wee bit of a trick question. I can see Kathleen going, you are a bugger. It's a wee bit of a trick question, but the correct answer, if you're getting the ferry into Stornoway, you would get it from Ullapool.
Oh.
And the reason why is you can also get there from Uig to Skye, from Uig and Skye to Harris, so technically you can get to Tarbert as well from there. So you can do both, in other words. How many, give us a wave, you're still in the quiz? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, okay. Yeah, we need a few more questions. Okay, let's get serious now. Let's get some Gaelic questions out there. I think I've heard people actually tell you the answer to this already, but let's see if you remember it. So my favourite ingredient is porridge oats. Okay, I love porridge oats. So what is the Gaelic for porridge oats? Okay. This is when you wish you'd been on that damn Duolingo this morning. And there is a caveat for yo socks, for Lewis people in this one, because we say something differently. We're always a pain in the backside, the Islanders. We do it differently. But if you're from anywhere apart from Lewis, okay? If you think the Gaelic for porridge oats is aran, put your hands up. And if you think it's brochan, keep your hands down. So hands up for aran, and hands down for brochan. Hands up for aran, hands down for brochan. God, you have been on the Duolingo. You are all right. It is brochan, unless you're in Lewis and it is leech. It's a bit like, what's the Gaelic for whiskey? Ushka beha. Ushka beha. And ushka is the Gaelic for water, unless you're on Lewis, where ushka is the Gaelic for rain, And Bourne is the Gaelic for water. So even though there's only 60,000 of us, the ones on Lewis still make it as awkward as possible for the Gaelic learners. Let's go on to talk about our highest mountain in the Outer Hebrides. Okay, it's called the Clishan. But how tall is the Clishan? Okay, if you think it's 799 meters, put your hands up. If you think it's 899 meters, keep your hands down. So 799 hands up, 899 hands down. It is 799. So well done to the hands up folk. And now we have 1, 2. Put your hands out. There's 4 of you still. Oh no, there's millions of you. 1, 2. You're too wee. And I can't see you. Right. Okay. Right. And then check. Okay. One more. But I need one for another thing. I'm going to drink one of the bottles on the way home. Don't get them all out. Oh, right. Okay. This will be our last one. Okay, this will be our last one. So we were talking about Robert Burns earlier, who many of you know as the national poet of Scotland. But what was his wife called? Put your hands up if you think his wife was Mary Campbell. And keep your hands down if you think his wife was Jean Armour. So hands up for Mary Campbell, and hands down for Jean Armour. Hands up for Mary Campbell, and hands down for Jean Armour. So Mary Campbell was his girlfriend, and Jean Armour was his wife. So who won that? Who's still in that one? 1, 2, 3. Congratulations, these 3. Coming up. Oh, hello.
I'm quite wee.
You are quite wee. I really needed to check you're over 18.
Yes.
21.
Yes.
Because I got caught out with that. Gin or whiskey? Whiskey.
Thank you.
And Jura 10-year-old. That party back. If anyone knows this lady, her address, let's go down there. Would you like whiskey or gin? Whiskey. Gin. Of course.
Thank you so much.
Well done, everybody. There's no more here. As I said, party outside in about 20 minutes' time. Have you got a liquor license at the bookshop? I'm kidding. Not encouraging it. So.
This is a mall, so I don't know what would happen if you just went out there. It's no man's land.
No man's land. So obviously we're going to have a book sign-in and we can meet you all and things like that. But have you got any? Seeing you've come all this way, have you got any questions for myself or Peter at all? Oh yes, sir.
So I had a text this morning that said something about Russian Eurovision in your history.
You got a text this morning
My
about it?
friend said, ask him about Russian Eurovision.
Well, so that is a very good question. So do people know what the Eurovision Song Contest is? Yeah, it's like every country in Europe enters a song and blah, blah. Well, as you do, I don't want to give the game away, but I am gay. Just in case this, But it's quite a tough thing growing up in the islands. Being a wee bit different. Whatever your difference is, it's sometimes a challenge. So what did I do when I realized that I was a wee bit different? I thought, you know what? I'm going to move to Russia. That was a good idea. So when I was 1994, I moved from the Outer Hebrides to Moscow. And well, to be honest with you, the main reason why, my mother very sadly died that year, and she'd never had the chance to travel. And I just wanted to do something for her. I really wanted to do an adventure that she never had the chance to do. And so I headed to Russia. Actually, it was just after the Soviet Union, but before Russia, so it was called the CIS at the time. And I started working there, and I got a job in a newspaper, working for the Moscow Times newspaper. And it just happened to be the first year that Russia had ever entered Eurovision. And the arts, I was in the sports department, the arts editor was like, she was telling us what's happening at the Bolshoi and what's happening at the Kremlin this week. And then she was an American lady, and she said, and she didn't like the sports department, because we always got more pages than she did in the newspaper. And she said, but I've got this other thing, but I don't know much about it. It's called the Eurovision Song Contest. And I was at the back going, oh, me, I know all about it. She was ignoring me, trying to get anybody else, and she was fine, you can go and interview the singer. And then they sent me to Dublin, to Mill Street in Ireland for the contest as part of the Russian delegation, and the year after. And then even when I moved back to the UK, the Russian broadcaster kept asking me to join them because I helped them out. So I ended up going to 13 Eurovisions. And then I've had some amazing opportunities from that. A couple of years ago, I went to BBC Alba with an idea. I just went to them and said, what if we got 1 million people to hear somebody sing in Gaelic? How could we do that kind of thing? They were like, well, we would love this to happen. So I said, what if we entered Eurovision? Now, unfortunately, Scotland can't enter Eurovision because it's the United Kingdom, but they can enter other competitions. So we decided to enter the Eurovision Choir Song Contest. And so myself and friend Joy Dunlop with a group of singers entered for Scotland, sang in Gaelic. And if you do type it in, Eurovision Choir Song Contest Scotland, into YouTube, if you look closely enough, you will see tears coming down my cheek as I'm singing on stage for Scotland in Gaelic. We didn't win, Denmark won, it was in Sweden, but that was a real moment in my life. And then 2 years ago, I was one of the backing singers on the backing track for the Icelandic entry, Daddy Freyr. He became quite famous for his Icelandic entry, so I sang the backing on that. So I have a very strange history of Eurovision, unexpectedly, so there you go. That's a good question. Any other questions at all? Yes?
Will you tell us about your dog?
Yes, I know most of you. I can tell that there's about 90% of you are here for Shawras, and then 10% for the recipes. But Shawras, well, Peter and Shawras came into my life at the same time, so you could probably tell everybody a little bit about Shawras.
Oh yeah, well, so Shawras is a West Island White Terrier, and actually, as Dan can probably attest, he's quite a stubborn. He knows his own mind, doesn't he?
He certainly does.
He's 15 and he's spoiled rotten. He's currently with my mum and my dad phoned yesterday saying Shawras keeps barking at me. He wants more food, so I fed him duck eggs. This dog knows how to get what he wants in life.
Exactly. But he has become the most famous dog in Scotland because obviously he's on my cookbooks, he's on Peter's TV show. And I think it's the way that people kind of come and say hello to us kind of thing. They kind of bound for Shawras, and then they go to, oh hi, and you too as well, but I really want to see Shawras. But he is quite a character, and he would have loved to have been here, to say the least. So.
a dog biscuit recipe from the Hebridean Bake.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
Shawras cookies.
Shawras cookies. Well, some exciting news I'm not allowed to tell you, but I am. That there is a third book coming out. I'm about to start it in 2 weeks' time. I don't know when it's coming out in the US. It's coming out in Scotland in October, but I think probably just after, a bit like now, just after kind of Christmas time, it'll come out in the US. So I'm kind of hoping you might invite me back. Is that, as long as you don't sing, I will invite you back. So that's Shawras. Any other questions at all? Yes, sir.
Are you worried about TikTok?
Am I worried about what? Should I be worried?
The United States is on the verge of
Banning it.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Well, actually, funny enough, that can I just say to the credit of America and the old. Okay, do you remember what's that guy called again? Donald Trump. It's sort of his fault that this has all happened. Okay, so I don't want to give this man any credit, but I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. Because do you remember, he actually tried to ban, remember when everybody was cursing him on TikTok, he tried to ban TikTok, okay? Well, you know the ladies' magazine Elle magazine? The columnist in Elle magazine wrote an article in Elle magazine, and it was, the only thing that I would miss about TikTok is the Hebridean baker. And at the time, I only had like, I don't know, 500 followers. Like I just started. And what did she say? She said, "He sounds like what I imagine a piece of shortbread would sound like when it came into the oven." And I remember that I didn't know she had written. She didn't contact me or anything. She just wrote this article. But I remember that the morning after it came out, I had made a carrot cake, my carrot and cardamom loaf, which is amazing. It's amazing, but not like 150,000 views overnight amazing. And I was like, well, brilliant, like this is amazing. And then I made something else, and I was like, this is going great. And it was your pal that said, did you know you were at Elle magazine? And I was like, what on earth are you talking about? And slowly but surely my figures just started to go rising and rising. Yeah, it was literally millions. So, you know what, I'm not worried actually, and the reason why is I've got a great Instagram family now, and actually I really enjoy Instagram more, because the great thing about this is I can still do my videos, I can do my wee photos. I hope you like the photos as well, and the wee bits. So actually, I've kind of moved over. I know everybody was on Instagram like 10 years ago. I'm still new to it, but if you don't follow me on Instagram, that's where I share most of my shenanigans. So it's Hebridean Bakers. So yes. But yes, I'll still keep posting there, even if just the Chinese people are watching it. So maybe one. Oh, yes, sir.
What is in the future for podcasting?
Oh, well.
I just binged all of them.
Did you?
So just so I can
Oh.
get familiar with them. So.
Well, do you know what? That feels like many years ago I did those. I was just a wee boy when I did those podcasts, and I haven't had the chance yet. But I might be doing a new podcast. I think we're finding out tomorrow, actually. The ferry company has done a tender to do their podcast, and they've asked me to be the host of the podcast. And it could, if we get it, it's going to be like an amazing it's going to be amazing. So stay tuned, because if it is, it's going to be all recorded over the next couple of months, and I'm very excited. So I hope we do win. If we don't, I'll try and start them again, because it was quite fun making them. Basically, as you can tell, I do like to tell a story. So with TikTok, it's always 60 seconds, but with podcasts, I could talk for 15 minutes, which was great. So I promise, in some way, they'll be back this summer, for sure. So, oh yes, sir. Hello.
How do you two stay sane with TV shows
Sane?
and podcasts and bookstores?
This is the best. I can't tell you how amazing this opportunity has been. Like, it just is mind-blowing, isn't it, that we're here doing this. None of this was intentional. I didn't think on day one when I made, basically, he loves the ginger loaf. And that's in book one. And if you do make a ginger loaf, you don't need the icing. Just make the ginger loaf. It's perfect without it.
It's really good with the icing.
It's good with the icing.
Don't scrimp on the icing.
Yeah, I know, but it is amazing. And I just made it because I just thought it's a nice ginger loaf, and I wanted to talk about my aunt's stories and all those kind of things. So I think, and as you know, I'm older than 23 now. So, you know, it's come at a time of life where I think I can appreciate it for all its madness that is going round. But I hope it continues, because it's been the best adventure ever. Imagine being able to go to different countries, talk about what you're passionate about, the Hebrides, the language of Gaelic, our culture, our food. It's just the most unbelievable experience. And so, keeping sane's been actually okay. It's amazing when people bake you pies, or bring you treats and things like that. That's kind of amazing.
We also have a cabin that we head off to.
That is true.
We don't TikTok or anything from there, and we just kind of chill out there. And Dan's been there as well, and it's a great wee spot that my dad built a few years ago, and we just head for the hills.
We do. No electricity, no running water, but very, very cozy indeed. So we do encourage that. And just to let you know, bookshops around America, Peter has just signed a book deal. Peter will have his own book, which is about off-grid living, about like basically, you know, you get those kind of cabin porn books in America. So sort of that for Scotland, but so about how to live off-grid, how to build, we call them huts rather than cabins, so how to build a cabin and all the people that
I had quite a worrying experience a few weeks ago. I started kind of digging around the internet, looking at the topic for off-grid living in Scotland, and my own unwritten, unresearched book
came up on Amazon.
Popped up on Amazon. So that was an incentive to get going, so it's underway.
So this winter we're going to be author rivals. So it'll be like he'll be in one bookshop on one side of the road and I'll be in a bookshop on the other side of the road. But congratulations. I do hope that'll come out in the US as well next year, so that would be kind of amazing as well. So, but on that note, I hope many of you have got the books, because I'd love to do a book signing now, and I know there's more books here if you want to buy. Oh, up that way. Give the big book people a wave who are selling books up there. So if you want to get some extra books, because it's not long till Christmas. So you better start thinking of Christmas presents. So if you need more books, go up the back. But if you want hugs, if you want photos, if you want to tell stories, get your book signed. I think I'm going to be here.
Yeah, and if those of you who are in this side here could just fold up your chairs or scoot them this way, just so there's a little more room in this aisle, so you can line up towards that table.
But before you go,
But, yeah, don't do
I
anything.
always nearly forget to do this. It's one of my favorite things to do. If you see on my Instagram, I always do that thing where I'm smiling and you're all going crazy. Can we do one of those wee videos? I love doing these videos. I love doing this. So, will I try and go up here? Okay. This is when it all goes wrong. Either I or the pie will disappear.
You've been drinking.
So basically, I'm going to take a photo of you all smiling, and then I'm going to do a video of you all going absolutely insane. And then you can tag yourself on the Instagram video. So, okay, I'm going to try it up here. Let's see. Oh, thank you very much. Oh. Okay, that's okay. So this is going to be the photo first, I think. Oh, you look amazing. And this is going straight to the Stornoway Gazette as well. So, so let's give this a try. So I kind of want you to all be kind of waving and happy. And 3, 2, 1. Happier. And now I'm going to do a video, okay? So I want you, if you have a book, kind of shuggle your book. If you don't have a book, shuggle your hands or shuggle something, okay? Can you catch me? That's the worst that can happen. Okay, so let's give this a try. Oh, this is going to look amazing. So, hard and keep going. Don't stop. Don't stop. Just keep cheering. Keep going crazy. Okay? And we start over here. And it is 3, 2, 1.